Picture this: a mild-mannered high school chemistry teacher, diagnosed with cancer, decides to cook meth to secure his family's future. Sounds noble, right? Wrong. He becomes Walter White, Heisenfreaking-Berg, destroying lives, lying to everyone who loves him, and escalating into pure evil. And yet, you couldn't stop rooting for him. You felt a pang of sadness when things went south for him, even after all the horrifying things he did. This isn't an accident. This isn't a flaw in your moral compass. It's a masterclass in psychological manipulation by brilliant writers. They play a trick on your brain, hijacking your sense of right and wrong, one episode at a time. Let's break down how they do it. So, how do they start? They begin by giving our soon-to-be villain a relatable starting point. Think Walter White's cancer diagnosis, his financial struggles, his perceived emasculation. These aren't excuses for his later actions, but they are the desperate, human reasons that push him over the edge. You see him as a victim, a man backed into a corner, making desperate choices. This initial vulnerability is key. It creates empathy, a tiny crack in your moral judgment that the writers then exploit. They don't make him evil from day one, they make him understandable. This isn't just about giving them a sad backstory, it's about making sure you understand their motivation before their actions become truly monstrous. Take Homelander from The Boys. He's a terrifying, narcissistic psychopath. But we also see his deep-seated need for love and approval, a twisted result of his horrific, isolated upbringing. He's a monster, but he's a broken monster. When you understand the why behind the what, it doesn't excuse the behavior, but it contextualizes it. It creates a narrative framework where his actions, however heinous, feel like a logical, albeit dark, progression. Next, writers sprinkle in tiny, unexpected moments of humanity. Think of a ruthless crime boss who dotes on his pet cat, or a serial killer who has a strict moral code about who he targets. These don't absolve them of their sins, but they create cognitive dissonance. You see the monster, but then you see a flicker of something normal, something good, or at least something relatable. This makes them more complex than a one-dimensional villain. It makes them feel like a person struggling with their own demons, rather than just an embodiment of evil. And that, my friends, is when your brain starts to struggle. Here's where it gets truly insidious. Writers often pit villains against something even worse or equally flawed. Walter White wasn't just fighting the law, he was fighting ruthless drug cartels, corrupt DEA agents, and his own crumbling sense of self. When the good guys aren't purely good, or when the system itself is broken, the villain's extreme actions can almost seem justified in comparison. They become a necessary evil, a dark force fighting an even darker one. This lack of a clear, good versus evil battlefield forces you to navigate a moral minefield, often siding with the lesser of two evils, or the one with more swagger. Let's be honest, villains are often incredibly good at what they do. They're intelligent, strategic, and often surprisingly competent. Think Gustavo Fring, meticulously building his drug empire while running a fast food chain. There's an undeniable allure to someone who is effective, who gets things done, even if those things are terrible. We admire competence, even when it's wielded for nefarious purposes. This isn't about their morality, it's about their mastery. Their ability to outsmart heroes, overcome obstacles, and execute complex plans can be incredibly captivating, drawing us in despite ourselves. Often, villains are rebels. They challenge authority, break rules, and disrupt systems that we, the audience, might secretly find frustrating or unjust. Think of Loki, a trickster god constantly undermining Asgard's rigid hierarchy. While his methods are often destructive, there's a part of us that enjoys seeing the established order shaken up. We fantasize about breaking free, taking control, or simply ignoring the rules. Villains live out those suppressed desires for us, acting on impulses we would never dare to. They're doing what we sometimes wish we could, even if we know it's wrong. Here's a critical difference: villain arcs are often more dynamic and transformative than hero arcs. Heroes usually start good and stay good, facing external challenges. Villains, however, often undergo profound internal changes. They fall. They evolve from relatable figures to monstrous entities, or they transform from mere antagonists into complex, multi-layered beings. This journey, the slow descent into darkness or the painful path to twisted self-realization, is far more compelling than a static hero. We're fascinated by change, by seeing someone become something they weren't, especially when it's so dramatic. Let's get uncomfortably personal. Sometimes, we root for villains because they mirror parts of ourselves we'd rather not admit. Our own frustrations, our resentments, our moments of selfishness, our hidden ambitions. Villains act on these darker impulses without consequence, or at least without the immediate consequences we'd face. They're our shadow selves, unconstrained. When we see a villain struggling with arrogance or a thirst for power, we might recognize a faint echo within. This doesn't mean we're evil, but it means we're human. And seeing that humanity, however twisted, can be strangely validating. Many beloved villains are, in fact, anti-heroes. They operate outside conventional morality but often for reasons that, on some level, we understand or even admire. They carry heavy burdens, make impossible sacrifices, and experience profound suffering. Walter White loses everything, including his soul. Darth Vader is trapped in a suit, racked with guilt. Their pain, their loneliness, their tragic fates, these elements pull at our heartstrings. We root for their redemption, or at least for them to find some kind of peace, even if they don't deserve it. It's the ultimate emotional bait-and-switch. So, if villains are so dynamic, why do heroes sometimes feel flat? Often, heroes are written to embody ideals, courage, justice, selflessness. While admirable, these traits can make them predictable. Their struggles are often external, fighting the bad guy, rather than internal. They rarely make truly morally ambiguous choices, which makes them feel less real. We know they'll do the right thing, usually. Villains, on the other hand, are a wild card. Their internal battles, their capacity for both good and evil, make them far more compelling and, ironically, more human. They surprise us. This isn't just about random character choices, it's a deliberate, calculated strategy. Writers craft these characters knowing exactly how your psychology works. They use a technique called identification through empathy, slowly building a bridge between you and the antagonist. Then they layer on moral ambiguity, competence, a compelling why, and those fleeting moments of humanity. They don't want you to agree with the villain, but they absolutely want you to understand them, to be captivated by them. They want to show you that evil isn't always a cartoonish monster, it can be terrifyingly ordinary. The journey from initial empathy to outright acknowledgement of a villain's point is subtle. You might start by excusing a small lie, then justifying a petty crime, and before you know it, you're understanding the logic behind a much larger, darker scheme. It's a slippery slope, carefully engineered. Each step, each moral compromise the character makes, is presented with enough context or pressure that your brain can rationalize it. The narrative constantly asks, "What would you do?" and then shows you the answer, making you complicit in their descent, simply by observing. So, what does this say about you? It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you're capable of empathy, even for those who don't deserve it. It means your brain is wired to understand motivations, even when they lead to horrific outcomes. It means you recognize the complexity of human nature, where good and evil aren't always clear-cut. And perhaps, it reveals a fascination with the darker parts of the human experience, the forbidden desires, the unchecked power, the ultimate freedom from societal rules. It's uncomfortable, but it's real. Ultimately, falling for TV villains is a testament to the incredible power of storytelling. These narratives don't just entertain, they explore the depths of the human psyche, challenging our preconceptions and forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths. They remind us that the line between hero and villain can be incredibly thin, and that the path to villainy is often paved with relatable intentions, tragic flaws, and just a sprinkle of bad luck. And the next time you catch yourself rooting for the bad guy, you'll know exactly why, and the genius behind the pen that pulled your heartstrings. Think about other characters who've hijacked your heart: Killmonger from Black Panther, a villain whose motives felt shockingly understandable; Darth Vader, a tragic figure we yearned for redemption; or even Vecna from Stranger Things, whose loneliness and pain made his descent into evil feel almost inevitable. Each one, a masterclass in making the bad guy the most compelling character on screen. It's a testament to writers daring to explore the shadow side of humanity, crafting characters so rich, so flawed, and so paradoxically human, that we can't help but be drawn into their orbit. What villain did you secretly root for? Let us know.